Ladies, I want you to picture this. A woman walks into her hairdresser wearing the exact same haircut she has worn for almost 20 years, and she walks out 40 minutes later looking so different that her own daughter does a double take at dinner. Younger, yes, but there's something else too, something people usually pay thousands for. She looks expensive. That is not an accident, and it is not about money. It is about knowing exactly which cut does the work for you. And today I am giving you all 7, especially the one at number 4, because that one alone has quietly transformed more women than any other cut on this list. If you are ready to look like the most polished version of yourself, hit subscribe right now, because this is where women over 60 come to stop settling. Now, let's get started. The first haircut on our list that will make you look radiant and effortlessly polished is the feathered crown with a tapered nape, and once you understand why it works, you will wonder how you went this long without it. Here's the secret most stylists never explain to you. Every single thing about how youthful your face looks comes down to where the volume sits, and after 60, volume tends to fall flat right at the crown, the exact spot that used to lift your whole face without you even trying. This cut rebuilds that lift on purpose. The top layers are cut to stand up and away from your scalp, opening your eyes, lifting your brows, and elongating your entire face the moment you walk into a room. The sides stay close, the nape is tapered clean, and that precision is what separates a cut that looks salon-expensive from one that looks like you just grabbed the nearest chair. I have watched this exact cut turn a tired, flat silhouette into something sharp and intentional in a single appointment. It flatters heart, oval, and square faces beautifully, and if your face is rounder, that crown height actually balances your width for you. If your hair has gone gray or silver, you are going to love this one, because the light catches differently through those crown layers, giving you dimension no flat cut could ever fake. And if your hair has thinned with age, this concentrated volume creates fullness exactly where you need it most. This is the cut that says you know precisely what works for you. But the next haircut on our list might just be the easiest, lowest maintenance transformation you make all year. The second haircut on our list that will make you look effortlessly chic and quietly confident is the Airy French Pixie. And before you scroll past, thinking that one isn't for you, give me 30 seconds. I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. A pixie feels like a young woman's cut, something severe, something that might read as harsh instead of soft. I understand that hesitation because you have probably seen the wrong version of this cut on someone and it scared you off for years. But the Airy French Pixie is nothing like that harsh, crop style you are picturing. This version keeps length at the top and through the crown, while the sides are gently tapered, never shaved, never sharp, and that retained length is exactly what creates lift. Lift is one of the biggest secrets to looking younger that nobody talks about enough. As we age, hair naturally falls flatter at the crown, and this cut solves that instantly, drawing the eye upward, brightening your eyes, and softening any fine lines around your forehead and temples, instead of letting your hair weigh your whole face down. Here is what makes this one feel expensive rather than severe. It is the restraint. Nothing about this cut is stiff or overdone, and that softness is precisely what separates a feminine, deliberate pixie from one that feels like a concession to age. This is the haircut of a woman who no longer needs long hair to feel like herself, and there is something quietly powerful in that kind of ease. Most days, all you need is clean hair, your fingers, and a small amount of lightweight cream. No brushes, no heat tools, no stress before you walk out the door. It is especially beautiful on gray, white, and salt and pepper hair, where the softer texture reads as intentional rather than simply undone. If you love the idea of going lighter, but you are not quite ready to go this short, stay with me, because the next haircut on our list might be exactly the in-between you have been looking for. This is a cut for the woman who has stopped needing permission and started choosing comfort, ease, and confidence, all in one single decision made in the mirror. Number 3 on our list, The cut that makes you look sophisticated without a single hard edge in sight is the soft curved lob, and this one works differently from anything we have covered so far. This is not about dramatic volume or a bold new length. It is about the complete absence of anything sharp. Every line in this cut curves. The front sits slightly longer, the back rounds softly, and every single end is finished, without harshness anywhere. Here is why that matters so much after 60. Sharp, blunt lines become far less forgiving as we age, because they exaggerate exactly what we are trying to soften. Fine lines, any heaviness along the jaw, any hint of sagging. Curves do the opposite. They blend, they smooth, they let the eye glide instead of catching on a hard edge. That gentle curve creates a subtle lifting illusion too, with the slightly longer front pieces elongating your face, while the rounded back builds volume right at your crown, balancing everything out beautifully from every single angle. This is the haircut of a woman who has stopped chasing trends and started choosing what genuinely flatters her, and that quiet confidence is exactly what reads as polished and expensive rather than dated or tired. If your hair has become fine or fragile over the years, this cut is especially kind to you, since that rounded shape creates the illusion of density that a blunt, straight edge could never fake. Styling stays refreshingly simple too. Smooth it, let it air dry naturally, or add the softest wave, no complicated routine required. But the next haircut on our list is one most stylists never even bring up, and it might be the most powerful secret on this entire video. And here it is, ladies, the one I promised you at the very beginning, the fourth haircut on our list that quietly transforms more women than any other cut on this video, the chin-length blunt bob with internal layers. If you have ever loved the clean, graphic line of a classic bob, but watched it turn heavy and dated on your face as the years passed, this chapter was written for you. Here is exactly why this one works so powerfully. The exterior stays sharp and precise, hitting right at your chin to frame your jawline beautifully. But hidden underneath that clean line, internal layers do the real work, removing bulk and letting your hair separate and move naturally instead of swinging as one heavy, solid mass. I want you to really sit with this next part because it explains why this cut looks expensive rather than just neat. A crisp, deliberate line is one of the strongest visual signals that a choice was made on purpose, not defaulted out of habit, and people notice that distinction even when they cannot explain why. Meanwhile, those internal layers are what protect the youthful movement, revealing soft glimpses of your jaw and neck as you turn your head, instead of hiding everything behind a static curtain of hair. Ask your stylist for point cutting to soften the corners if your face is more square, and know that this cut performs beautifully on fine hair, since the blunt exterior makes hair look thicker while the internal layers keep it from feeling heavy. On gray hair, that sharp line creates gorgeous structure against your softer silver strands, elegant contrast that a one-length cut could never achieve. This is the haircut of quiet confidence, the kind that does not need to announce itself to be noticed, the kind you wear into a room and simply know. If you have been growing your hair out lately, wondering what on earth to do with it in the meantime, the next haircut on our list was made exactly for you, and it might be the most flattering length you have ever actually tried. The fifth haircut on our list, and honestly one of the most underused lengths you will ever ask for, is the collarbone-length feathered cut, and once I explain why, you will understand exactly why so few women even know to request it. This length sits in a very specific, very deliberate sweet spot. It is not short enough to feel like a dramatic leap, and it is not so long that it drags your whole face downward, the way length past your shoulders often does. Here is the mechanism behind why it works so well. Hair that stops precisely at your collarbone visually lifts your neck and your jawline at the same time, while anything longer pulls your features down, and anything meaningfully shorter simply is not the right choice for every woman reading this right now. The feathering is what makes it move instead of hanging. Ends are softly layered and angled rather than left blunt, so your hair sways naturally with you instead of sitting like dead weight, and that movement brings a lightness to your whole face while making even fine hair appear fuller than it really is. I want to let you in on something most salons will not tell you outright. This length requires real precision to execute correctly, far more than a simple straight cut across the ends, and that precision is exactly why it reads as expensive the moment someone gets it right. It is not a length you stumble into by accident. If you are transitioning away from long hair, but you are not quite ready to commit to a bob or a pixie, this cut is your graceful middle ground, elegant, age-positive, and never harsh. Styling could not be simpler either. A basic blow-dry with a round brush, or even just air drying with a little smoothing cream, and you are done in minutes, not hours. This is the haircut of a woman who still enjoys her hair, who still wants to feel feminine, but who has absolutely no interest in fighting with it every single morning of her life. But ladies, the next haircut on our list might completely change the way you think about bangs after 60, because most of what you believe about them right now simply is not true. The sixth haircut on our list, the one that finally makes bangs feel safe again after 60, is side-swept bangs with long layers, and I need to be honest with you before we go any further. Bangs after 60 feel like a genuine risk to so many of us, and I understand that hesitation completely, because a bad bang does not just sit there quietly. It takes months to grow out, forcing you to pin it back awkwardly through every unflattering stage in between. We have all either lived that or watched a friend live it, and that memory is exactly why so many women rule bangs out entirely without ever trying the right version. But here is what changes everything. Side-swept bangs are nothing like a blunt fringe sitting flat across your forehead like a shelf. This is a soft diagonal sweep that begins shorter on one side and lengthens gradually into face-framing layers around your cheeks, breaking up forehead lines while still lifting the eye upward toward your crown instead of weighing your whole face down. Here is the part almost nobody talks about openly. This sweep quietly conceals thinning at the hairline, a concern so many of us deal with privately after 60, and it creates a completely new, softer hairline that you control entirely, on your terms. If you wear glasses, you are going to notice this benefit immediately, because side-swept bangs soften that harsh line between your frames and your forehead, making your entire upper face feel finished and cohesive rather than severe. This cut flatters round, square, and rectangular faces beautifully, and if your face leans more heart-shaped, ask your stylist to keep the bangs lighter and feathered. For fine hair, request Pixie rather than heavy bangs, so they read as light and intentional instead of flat. This is the kind of quiet decision that pays you back every single time you glance in the mirror, a small, deliberate choice with an outsized reward. But ladies, the next haircut on our list is the one that started this entire conversation, the classic so many of us already know and love, and I promise you have never seen it explained quite like this before. And here we are, ladies, the seventh and final haircut on our list, the one that rescues so many of us from a mistake we do not even realize we are making, the soft layered bob with a deep side part. If you have been wearing the same heavy, one-length bob for years, quietly wondering why it no longer feels like you, this is exactly why. A blunt bob falls to one solid length with zero graduation, and on a mature face, that heaviness pulls every feature downward instead of lifting anything. This cut solves that in two deliberate moves. First, soft layers break up that solid wall of hair, creating movement and preventing the blocky, dated look that makes so many of us feel frumpy without knowing why. Second, a deep side part builds instant volume at your crown, drawing the eye upward and creating a flattering diagonal line across your forehead, one that is far more forgiving than a plain center part could ever be. Here is the part I really want you to hear, because this is where the whole expensive promise comes full circle. If your hair has gone gray or silver, those layers catch the light in a way a single-length cut simply cannot, creating natural, dimensional highlights that read as salon-expensive without a single dye job. If your hair has thinned with age, the shorter layers quietly support the longer ones underneath, preventing that flat, limp look for good. This is the cut that ties everything we have talked about together: soft over severe, intentional over accidental, lifted over heavy. It is the final proof that looking younger and looking expensive were never two separate goals. They were always the same haircut done right. So tell me honestly, which of these 7 are you bringing to your very next appointment, and what is your face shape? Drop it in the comments below, because your answer might be exactly what convinces another woman to finally book the visit she has been putting off for years. And if you want more of this, more honest beauty guidance that treats your age as an asset instead of something to hide, hit subscribe and stay with us, because this is where women over 60 come to feel seen, not overlooked.